are going to draw some cats, and more cats. I grew up with cats. I love cats. Many of you probably also have cats. So when we're drawing something like a cat, we all have in our mind exactly what a cat looks like, but let's kind of break it up a little bit and think of them as just circles. So you have a circle for the head and a circle for the body. And from this angle, maybe you have a circle for the head and the body's over here. The cat's going to be walking, so got their neck stretched out a little bit. So the first thing you do is you start with rough circles to plan the shape of the basic shape. Where is my cat going to be? What pose is it going to have? These don't take very long, and it gets you an idea of how your cat is going to be acting. So if we start with a basic cat head. So I've got this nice circle. When we think about a cat, they've got their classic ears, and they're not too pointy. They're actually a little rounded. And basic head. I like to draw very lightly with a pencil. Notice I'm not really pushing down. We can decide if we want to have fur. We can always add details. Inside of the ears. And then the face. So you can tilt the face just by changing where you put this crosshair. So imagine this is the center of the face with the nose. We have this one down here. I put the nose much lower. And the ears go up in these top corners. So depending on where you put the crosshair, here we've got this cat looking up. So I have to keep the ear over in that quadrant. Nose is going to be over here. We've got lots of different angles. From the side, my cat, I don't see that other crosshair, and the ear is going to be straight forward. So we change where the cat is looking just based on moving that loose X across the face. And then we have the eyes. So we've got classic cat eyes. You can make them nice and big. You can make them a lot smaller. Lots of different options here. But you keep it in the same quadrant. So you see, by putting this crosshair here, it helps us figure out where those eyes are going to be. And on this one, we only see one eye. And we can easily give our cats eyes. Oh, we've got all these cats looking at each other. Okay, then we've got little mouth. This one looks more like he's begging. You can see him looking at you. You've just pulled something out of the fridge. And this cat definitely wants something. You've got this cat down here who's just in the classic loaf pose. I'm even going to give him his little feet. He's just looking at something. I don't know what. That cat's just looking at something. And we do the same with the body of thinking about lines. So if that's his spine, we'll give him a tail. this guy, tail. If this is his chest, then we can figure out legs and legs, and I'm not worrying too much about the legs right now. All right, this guy, he's got his body stretched out. And so sticking to the rough pencil, we can figure out what the cat is doing. And I start again on the legs with circles. So we've got a walking cat. How are they walking? By doing these loose circles as he's moving forward, his leg, and we're going to have that tail. So by doing the loose circles, we don't have to be exact right off the bat. We can say, oh, I don't like that leg. What if he's further in his walk, and so this leg is back a little bit more? Or where's his other leg? Is it forward? Maybe he's standing still. So we can easily move things around, and we don't have much commitment because we've only been spending a little bit of time. If I don't like something, I can quickly erase it. Maybe he's got a bowl of something, and so you see, by sticking with the loose circles, I can make changes much faster. And it looks a little strange. We've now got this six-legged cat going on. But you see, I don't have to commit to anything yet. I can still add other details and get everything in the right position. So if he's got a bowl down here, maybe he's looking down at the bowl. And I don't feel bad. I don't have to redraw the whole picture because I haven't really done much. Nothing that required much effort, at least. So I can keep making changes, all very loose. Now, one thing I hope you notice with the cat, the lines on the cat, when I'm drawing loose lines, I like to draw long, smooth lines. Your hand is better at drawing a smooth circle than if you force yourself by doing these little short jagged lines. So that's great for making him look furry, but when possible, doing rough sketches, keep your hand loose, because your hand loose actually draws a better circle than it does if you are trying to force it. Okay, so we've got these rough kitties, all with their little rough circle poses, and you can look at reference photos. The internet is great for reference photos. When I was in middle school and high school, I remember that my reference photos came from Springfield Library. I'd have to go down to the library and find old National Geographics, and I'd spend hours looking through books and magazines for reference photos. Now research in art is so much easier. A lot easier to do. Okay, when I like something, this is when I commit. And I take a nice black pen. If I'm drawing professionally, then I'll usually use a light table so that I don't have to do any erasing. But in this case, I'm just going to draw right here on the top. And let's do this guy up here. So I like to start with the things that are in front, or the things that are hardest. So in the case of a cat, something that's the most important, the eyes and the nose, and we'll do a little furry mouth. Get some whisker spots in there. And then on the side, you see I've got just a little hint of rough on the pencil. So I'm going to pick the lines that I want. It's okay if it's not perfect. The cat can groom himself later. Oh, he'll straighten it out. There we go. And even though I have all those inner circles and lines, I'm just picking the one that looks the best. So that when I'm done, we'll give him a little fur here. There we go. It's a little lopsided, but that's okay. For a quick sketch, not too bad. Let's look at this guy down here. I don't know what you're looking at. Again, I like to draw the nose first. And this guy is going to have smoother fur. He's got these two. Notice the ears are not just triangles. They're like a triangle with a little inner triangle. And depending on which way the cat's head is tilted, that line is going to change. We'll give him a couple of dots down here. He's got his paws tucked. It's hard to see his anatomy because he's just a big ball of fur. He's a fat cat. He's got legs somewhere down in here. For now, he's just kind of a loaf, and that's okay. You can even look up loaf kitties on the internet and see lots of photo examples of a classic loaf kitty. There's a loaf kitty from the front. Don't need too many details. And both of these guys actually need whiskers. With whiskers, try to do long, smooth strokes lifting up at the end. So you see that those strokes get thicker on one end, going thinner. Try not to just do a long stroke like this, where it's got a hard end and a hard end. So practice lifting up at the end of your stroke. So I want long, smooth strokes. And you might find for you that it's easier if you turn your paper. On the camera, it looks a little strange, so I'm not going to turn the paper. I'm just going to turn my hand. But for you, so you might feel more comfortable at a certain angle, okay? So it's okay to turn the paper. There we go, we've got that loaf kitty. And let's see, we've got this guy down here. He's got a little triangle nose. And he's looking up at us. He's begging. He wants whatever you just pulled out of the fridge, because obviously it's more exciting than whatever is in his food dish. We used to have this cat, and my brothers named him after a rapper, Spot LaRock. This was back in the 90s. So there was a rapper named Scott LaRock. But Spot LaRock was a really obnoxious cat. He would sit on our stairs in our hallway and reach out as you walk by and swat at your head. And he'd usually have his claws out. Yeah, he was definitely my brother's cat. So but he was loud. He was annoyingly loud. So was his mom. So I can just picture this loud cat. And you see, the more short, stubby strokes I make, the more furry they look. But I can just picture a loud kitty, letting you know exactly how much they want whatever you've got. Give him collar. Should have done that in pencil first. That's okay. And there we go. This cat's hungry. And he's begging. And there we go. Okay, so we've got a nice begging kitty, and then we've got this guy down here, and we've got all these legs. I don't know which legs I want to use. I know that this one is important, so I can either make that the front leg, I can make that the back leg. I think I'm going to make that the back leg. So I'm going to start with his profile, and he's looking down. He's got his collar on, and I know that they have shoulders, and so sometimes where you've got a shoulder or an elbow, I give it a little tuft of fur. Paw, again, right where he's got an elbow, give him a little tuft of fur. And this other leg, he wants to know what's in that bowl. A couple of spots. This guy doesn't have any whiskers. Give you some whiskers there, buddy. There you go. All right. And we've got, again, little tufts right at the elbows. That back paw. This other leg. There we go. So you see, even though I had lots of legs drawn there, I can choose the one that's going to be most effective and low commitment. So you can get lots of poses quickly by starting with circles. And there's the water dish or the food dish. Probably a food dish. It's empty. Whatever it is, it's empty. It needs food. Next, before I color, I need to erase. So when you're erasing, I've got all these rough lines. This is why I like to trace when I'm at the inking stage so that I don't have to erase. But I take my eraser and you hold your hand on one side of the paper and you always erase in smooth lines. One direction. I'm not scrubbing back and forth like I do with a pencil eraser, because when I'm done, it does less damage to the paper if I erase in smooth lines using a nice soft eraser. Try to avoid those hard, dense erasers. You want ones that are nice and soft. I like the little white ones. Those are nice erasers too. And just always erase so that you're pulling in one direction and it's not destroying the paper. Now, frequently when I'm drawing, I'll do my basic outlines like this, erase all the pencil, and then add my final details. So here we go, erasing. And because I drew nice and light, it was easy to erase. If I darkened up any of those lines, they'd be much harder to erase. So drawing with a blunt pencil and drawing very loose and soft will allow you to erase much cleaner and easier. And then we've got this cat down here. We'll erase him too. There we go. And I'm not too worried that I've got a few details in there. Okay. Erasing also makes your studio a very messy spot. Okay, so if I'm going to color now, I've got all these colors. So with a colored pencil, again, I don't want to use the tip of the colored pencil and push too hard. I want to color very lightly, and I'm coloring in circles. And so I actually like to keep my pencils a little on the dull side. Not your personality. You don't want your personality to be dull, but having a dull colored pencil is okay. So the technique when you're coloring very loosely like this and lightly and building up colors. So if you're coloring in circles and you're not crushing the top of the paper, it's called scumbling. So you're coloring in circles. And this is easier if you've got a couple of sheets of paper under your work so that you're not just drawing on a hard table surface. And you see that I'm just lightly building up the colors. So scumbling, coloring in circles. What this allows me to do is come in with other colors. So I've put down that light brown. What if I want this to be an orange tabby cat? I can come in with my orange and lay that in, and you see how it's not overpowering. I can still see the brown underneath to give my shadow and dimension, but I've got these other tones that I can lightly lay in. There we go. And we've got our orange cat starting to come to be. Notice it's not super dark. It's very light, and I've got this nice blunt tip on my pencil, so I'm not going too dark. And I'm putting most of my color tones around the edges and in the shadow areas. There we go. Now, if you do need to sharpen your pencil, because it just has nothing left, you've got to sharpen your pencil. Have you ever sharpened your pencil and had the tip just seem like it was broken before you're even done sharpening it? It happens all the time. And with your more expensive colored pencils, it's really frustrating. So there's a trick for getting the binder that holds the pigment together, that lead of pigment in this case. It's not like a lead of a regular pencil. What you can do is you can take your pencil and you can microwave it for just a few seconds. We're not talking anything more than about 10 seconds. Just long enough to reheat and get the wax and the binder to melt back together. And then when you go to sharpen it, it's not pre-broken. So if you've got, especially those expensive colored pencils that seem to break before you're even done sharpening it, then that's what you can do. And I'm going to use kind of a red-orange to come in with my little tabby stripes. And to overlay those, always lightly building up. See, there's one that broke. Ooh. So I probably need to microwave my pencils I know it seems strange. There we go. And we'll add a little bit more. I used to spend hours in the kids area there at Springfield Library reading Garfield. And then 5th grade, I would actually draw little Garfields and sell them to my friends. So I'd sell them for 25 cents a drawing. Or if you wanted to trade me toy cars, because I really did like little toy cars back then too. Technically, I shouldn't do that because that's breaking copyright laws. But it was a lot of fun, and it taught me how to draw in a comic-y style a lot better. Drawing in a realistic style, well, why don't you just go find your cat and hopefully they're asleep and you can sit there and draw and draw and draw. Or again, look at the internet. There we go. Notice again, I'm coloring very lightly, building up colors. And it doesn't take much color to just suggest a simple cat. Okay, so we've drawn a few cats, done a little bit of coloring. Next, we're going to be putting them into some kind of a scene. So we're going to pause here, and then we're going to jump into a new drawing of a cat doing something. So come back for the next episode.